Hi y'all, this is Shantae. Welcome to my analysis today on Monday, June 29th, 2020. I hope y'all well. I hope some of y'all that watched the Versus battle, I hope you guys are good. I'm just going to come with you for a few things. I'm trying to sum this up real quick. Hopefully y'all can, which I probably can, so I can get it done. I got faith in myself. So I'm going to cover first the coronavirus. Going to open up my book, the coronavirus. And y'all know it's hampering us. So here we are. So globally, we are, let's see. Did I write it down? Let's see. I know I wrote it down here. Oh, there we go. So globally, we are at 10 million cases. So it's 10,268,786,000, million cases of COVID-19. So I'll read that again. 10,268,786 million cases of COVID. So that's where we are. So you could say 10.2 million or almost 10.3 million. In terms of number of cases in the United States, we are at 2,586,844 cases of COVID. As of deaths, we are at 126,123 cases of COVID. Deaths and fatalities. So I'll read that again. Numbers of cases of COVID globally, we had 10,268,786 cases of COVID, or 10.2. Number of cases in the U.S., we are at 2,586,844 cases of COVID. In terms of fatalities, which is deaths, we are at 126,123. And that number is counting. In terms of cases in other states, Brazil got 1.3 million. Russia has over 600,000, 640,000. India is at 548,000. UK is at 313,000. In South Africa, because African countries, South Africa has the most cases in Africa, which is in the southern tier, and that's at 144,000. I'm going to move on to the lower numbers. In Africa, Senegal has 6,698. That's pretty a big chunk. Kenya has 6,190. And Ecuador, they have the most cases in the Latin countries, 55,092. DR has 31,816. Panama has 31,684. Honduras have 18,082. Guatemala has 16,930. El Salvador has 6,173. When you get to the West Indies, Haiti has 5,847. Diamond Princess has 712. Jamaica has 690. Guyana has 230. Trinidad has 126. Barbados has 97. Antigua has 69. St. Vincent has 29. Belize has 24. They went up one case. Grenada has 23. St. Lucia still has 19. And Dominica still has 18. Now here in the U.S., we went up. It's 32 states now that have moved up in the cases. And that includes California, Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, Ohio, Tennessee, South Carolina, Washington State, Colorado, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, Utah, Montana, Arkansas, Nevada, Kentucky, Kansas, Oklahoma, Nevada, Delaware, Oregon, Idaho, West Virginia, Wyoming, I believe this is Alaska, if I'm not mistaken, Montana, and Hawaii. I don't think it's Alaska, AKA, but it's the AK sometimes I forget my state acronyms sometimes, so please forgive me. But I got most down packed, so it's 32 because I counted. Now, states with the most cases, of course, we know New York has like 397,293, still flattened. That number still stay the same. I'm going to get to New York briefing because Cuomo actually held the briefing today. New Jersey has 173,000, which they are now the third state to have the most cases, because who topped them was California at 223,831, with the number of deaths at 5,973. Texas has 158. They are the fourth ones. 531 at 2,427 deaths. Florida has 146,333 with the number of deaths as of 3,446. Georgia has 74,816. That's pretty much of a significant number that they were yesterday. And they have 2,739 deaths, fatalities. Arizona, which is the last state I recorded with the most cases, has 74,602. The number of deaths is 1,598, almost 1,600 deaths. So the way COVID is being handled in the United States, is not good. The CDC even say we have too many cases that it's hard to control it. It's very hard, which I'm like, it shouldn't be, because y'all shouldn't alarm the guy in the White House to get the test kits from the World Health Organization. And all he did was downplay this virus and saying that it will go away. The virus is still here. States in the Southeast and the West Coast have rising cases, even some in the Midwest, mostly south of the Midwest, have a lot of cases. And I can say even Wisconsin because it's on top. So the Northeast that he complains about so much, calls them the elite states. They're the ones that seem like they're trying to contain their coronavirus with opening in phases and following the metrics. I know New York is. I'm slightly concerned that New Jersey is too. So, I mean, hey, right? In terms of the briefing of Andrew Cuomo, he had one today. It was short and straight to the point. Pretty much, he criticized Donald Trump for mishandling the virus, saying he's a liar, which we all know he's a liar. And compare the number of testing sites here to the testing sites for the federal government have provided. The federal government only provided 41 testing sites, while the state of New York provided over 750. So there's also 15 additional testing sites for protesters who are protesting, which I haven't seen any protesters, but I'm pretty sure they're protesting, but they're getting tested, which is smart. And some of them are wearing their masks. Well, most of them I seen. So it's a good call. So pretty much he criticized him, and the number of deaths we have seen in New York State actually decreased. And it decreased. 17 was on June 23rd, 17 June 4th, June 25th was 14, June 26th was 13, June 27th was 5, yesterday was 7 deaths. So we are seeing our death toll in single numbers. I don't praise death, but it's very good from where we were about almost 3 months ago. 3 months ago, we were at 800 people per day. Like, literally 800 people per day. And that includes some in nursing homes. And, of course, he got criticized from the way he handled it from the public advocate, but I didn't see the public advocate really doing too much. So he don't got really that much to say. And plus, he was a crappy councilman. We just being nice to him because we did vote his behind in, and I don't see him doing that much. That's all I'm saying. But, and our hospitalizations have went down, so we are in the hundreds. In terms of, not the 100s, but in the hundreds, in terms of being in the thousands that we were like a week ago. So that's a plus since March 18th. In terms of positive tests, we only tested out of the 46,000 has been tested. We are at 391 positives. So that's 0.84%. That's pretty good from where we were. In terms of different regions, of course, the Bronx tested high for the positive regions at 1.3. That's due to because most of the people that live in the Bronx are essential workers in different hospitals, grocery stores, other essential services as well. Brooklyn at 1.1, Manhattan at 1.9, Queens at 0.5, and Staten Island at 1.1. He also explained about the person that came back from Florida, how he attended a graduation in Westchester, and 13 people were affected, tested positive of COVID from him coming back from Miami. I mean, duh. I mean, the way people were reckless in Miami, in Florida, not wearing their masks, still gathering, not social distancing. Of course, that plays a part too. And also, there was other cases in like the western tier of New York from the factories, which, yeah. But the western part of the state will be opening in phase 4 starting tomorrow, while as in terms of New York City, we're supposed to be opened up in phase 3 by next Monday, but there are 2 complications. One is the lack of compliance with social distancing in larger congregations, and also local governments not enforcing. I see a lot of people, I saw a lot of pictures, even talking to my friends who still live uptown, saying that how people are still gathering, especially on 125th Street, even sometimes uptown in the Bronx, even some people in Brooklyn, like, yo, even some people around me in the city, like, dude, like, I mean, downtown, because I live downtown, like, yo, it's still the coronavirus. Like, I don't understand. Some of y'all not even wearing your mask, which I'm like, yo, you walking in the store without your mask, you could affect the essential worker's face. Like, what are you doing? Like, we're still in this. Like, just because it's summer, I understand it's hot. Trust me, I'm hot when I wear my mask, when I wear my gloves, but anything to protect not just me, but the people around me while I'm shopping, it makes sense. And I just go to the store like once a week or go get my coffee. I don't want to infect anybody, even though I haven't really been around anybody, but who knows? I could touch something and like touch this, and then COVID can happen. God forbid, knocking on wood, I don't want that to happen, but anything can happen. And I don't understand these. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't. With these folks. Just thinking everything's okay, which, like, no. Just because the curve is flattening. We still got high cases, but the curve is flattening in New York, but it's still the coronavirus. And a second wave is supposed to come within 2 months. So y'all need to continue to wear your mask, wash your hands, social distance, any way you can. If you could work from home, that's great. If you gotta go to work, that's fine. But the best thing to do is stay away from the people that we love. Also, another thing is like he's afraid that the cases will spread across the nation, which is true because there's people that are traveling, and some people I see not wearing their mask, and so even people from other states are not wearing their mask, and you see the hospitalizations is going up. So the best thing to do is practice social distancing. Not saying people should go away. Maybe we should not see our family members that are south and west of us or midwest of us because their cases is going up. And the last thing we need infection rates, especially here when we have a travel advisory. And we need our mayor to enforce and not open up those basketball courts or them contact sports, because we don't need that shit. This is COVID. We're in the midst of COVID. Like, no. Absolutely not. Not happening. At all. Like, we don't need, like, we just don't need no more, we just don't. That's all I'm saying. He also wants to hold the be careful. A few residents back from Florida where they ran to. Listen, I'm staying away from everybody. I don't even want to come close to people, Miriam. I just stayed the hell away from people. I literally stayed the hell away. Far away. Extremely far away. Don't even touch me. Thank God I wasn't touched. So that's a good thing. In terms of the VMAs, he wants to open. He wants the VMAs is going to be held. MTV is going to hold the VMAs in Brooklyn, and he talked about the air thing, whatever. Here's my thing, like, that's not a good idea. Anything enclosed in space, you don't want that to happen because there could be a major outbreak. The BET Awards was virtual, even though I didn't really enjoy the show because maybe it was the host, but the BET Awards was virtual, and maybe all award shows until we have a vaccine needs to be virtual. It's the only thing we could prevent this is us as human beings act as responsible citizens, and that's what we need. Like, seriously, like, we need that today, and it starts with us being responsible. That's all I'm saying. When you tackle a public health problem, and when you act by the science, the economy gets better. That's all I'm saying. More on that, you can catch that, the rest of that briefing on there. And then he did say the state will review the whole NYC phase 3, but that will be determined. Hopefully, I hope they push it back between the middle of July. That would be good. So now, like, I'm going to move on to always write my stuff down, to the Supreme Court ruling. The Supreme Court has ruled the abortion rights. The Supreme Court the Supreme Court will has strike down the Louisiana what is it? The Louisiana rule that they had. Oh, I thought Cuomo said no huge gatherings until September. There is no huge gatherings. Yeah, he did say that, but people don't listen. That's because it's our local government. Blame de Blasio. Because they need to stop that. I hope that answers your question, Jamila. Now, back to the Supreme Court thing. The Supreme Court has ruled for 5-4 decision with Chief Justice Roberts, who have surprisingly sided with the 4 liberal judges on the Supreme Court to strike down the Louisiana restrictive abortion law. Justice Roberts joined court's most liberal judges to strike down the law passed by the Louisiana legislature in 2014 that required any doctor offering abortion services to have admitting privileges at a hospital within 30 miles. It was Justice Bayer who wrote the decision. Justice Stephen Bayer, who was appointed by Bill Clinton back in the 90s, also wrote Monday's ruling. The law poses a substantial obstacle to women seeking abortion and often offers no significant health benefit and therefore imposes an undue burden on a woman's constitutional right to choose and to have an abortion, and which is true. I mean, the world is changing. Roe v. Wade is the law of the land. It's been the law of the land since 1973. How many times have conservatives tried to strike it and it's just never worked? People protest. When people protest, it turns into legislation. It even turns to go further to the law of the land. And they don't realize, these conservatives, it's more so white women that get abortions more than black women. Because it's mostly hard for black women to get pregnant at times. It is. And then to carry long term. Which is true. And that's how black women sometimes die from childbirth. Especially in my mother's time when she was growing up, because they couldn't carry. It was just too much. So this whole abortion thing was mostly white women when they get raped. And they had to have the rapist baby. I wouldn't want to have the rapist baby neither. No. So I'm glad that Chief Justice Roberts found the right head. He said it was wrong to strike down the It was wrong to strike down the law in Texas. Like, yo, like, why would you even vote it with the Supreme Court back then? Like, here's my thing with Chief Justice Roberts. It's like he was staunchy conservative when Justice Kennedy Robert was the deciding vote. And now that Justice Kennedy Robert has resigned, stepped down, and now is this Brett Kavanaugh fool, which I'm about to get into him in a minute, now saying you want to find Jesus. Find Jesus in the Voting Rights Act. And not try to strike that down, because he's not a fan of the Voting Rights Act. I don't give any of these conservatives on there, Neil Gorsuch, neither, no cookies. None. Because y'all views, y'all still have implicit biases in y'all. Like, y'all still not for civil rights of women, or still not for people that are of color. Yes, y'all voted on DACA. Y'all voted, Chief Justice Robert was the deciding vote on all three. Yeah, that's great, but like, you still voted down the Voting Rights Act, and you basically let the Congress do gerrymandering. And that's not even lawful. And then Neil Gorsuch, this abortion thing and this, DACA thing you don't care about. And we ain't going to get to Clarence Thomas or Brett Kavanaugh, because and Samuel Antaleo, because they're the most staunchiest of the staunchiest conservatives. I hope that Clarence Thomas resigns. Yes, I know he's black, and I shouldn't get on the only black guy on the Supreme Court, but he votes like a white man. And not saying all white men is bad, but he votes like a staunchy conservative. Like, people in the Conservative Party since the Reagan times don't even like you, because I always thought Reagan was always a racist. I'm just saying. Especially when that video, he was talking to those people in the Bronx like that. Like, any drug dealer that came across him, he probably would have got his ass whooped. But like I said, got no words for Clarence Thomas. He's a sellout. And as a Brett Kavanaugh, like, I know he wasn't shit. Kamala Harris saw through him. Cory Booker saw through him. Even Amy Klobuchar and Mazie Hirono, they saw through him. Dick Durbin saw through him. The only one that was Susan Collins, was like, I ain't gonna vote for him. Stupid. Now she's fighting for her life, for her Senate seat, which I'm pretty sure she's gonna lose. More than likely. But now to this White House briefing. Ugh. Yeah. So Kayleigh McEnany, the most deplorable White House press secretary, she make Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Sean Spicer look good. That's how deplorable she is. But she's always been deplorable since CNN days. So she basically said the Department of Justice arrested 100 anarchists from destroying federal property, which is the statues. They also charged 4 men threatened to tear down the statue and tear down the Andrew Jackson statue in Lafayette Square in D.C. She also said the FBI has 2 open domestic terrorism investigations ongoing. Which ones? Which ones are you considering domestic terrorism? Because I think of domestic terrorism, I think of Klansmen and alt-right people that say Jews will not replace us. Those are domestic terrorists. She also said AG Barr created a task force for anti-government extremists led by the U.S. Attorney Office in New Jersey and Northern Texas, which is so fucking stupid. And then she always was saying Democrat, local, state level people do nothing, which is bull crap. And then she said state Dems block the so-called police reform, which we all know that Senate bill was trash. Also, she blames the Minnesota Democratic governor failed to deploy the National Guard. But it's like he asked help for the National Guards when the height of the protest was going on crazy, and because of him, that's the only reason why Donald Trump basically, because he asked Donald Trump stupid ass for help. Like any other normal person will ask for help when they have a national crisis. But still, Donald Trump still bastardized the movement and still bastardized everything that he does. That's just what he does. Right? And then She said 3 Democratic Minnesota lawmakers voted to abolish the police. They actually voted to reform the police if she would do her homework and not just listen to rhetoric. That's what they do, which I'm not surprised. And also, Kayleigh McEnany compared defund the police as mob rule. Defund the police, if you really want to know the definition of defund the police, I suggest that she understands and listen to Kamala Harris, who broke down what defund the police mean. Because defund the police is not abolishing the police. Abolishing the police is totally different. That means get rid of all police. And nobody wants to get rid of police. We want them defunded and we want them reformed and we want them to have training so they know how to deal with situations instead of putting their hands on black and brown people. So when she was basically, the last part of this thing. So Donald Trump basically quoted Donald Trump and said, "The states are great works of art and they represent our heritage." What heritage? Last time I checked, that people from the heritage hurt my ancestors and your ancestors. Even if you're Puerto Rican, they still put their fucking hands on you. That's all I'm saying. So a reporter asked her basically about the reports from the weekend. She basically said that the U.S. receives thousands of reports and intelligence from the intelligence, and it's subjected to scrutiny while the White House doesn't comment. She said basically she was asked about a follow-up. Did Trump know about these about the whole Russia bounty thing? Because y'all know about what went on, how basically Russians paid the Taliban to kill U.S. soldiers and U.K. soldiers in Afghanistan. Killed, 10 in 2018, 6 in 2019, and 2 this year. But of course, Donald Trump said he was, and Vice President Pence said he wasn't briefed. You're right. And then her response was basically saying that he wasn't briefed. And when asked about how he was upset because the intelligence community, which is our intelligence, shared information with the UK government and intelligence, and she says she has no comment. Of course, because they lying. Then Kristen Walker from NBC News, people be sleeping on her, but I love her. Asks about what does he mean when he tweet about intelligence speak to me. She said no further details on the president's correspondence. And then she basically lies. And then Caitlin Collins of CNN, which is another one that you don't sleep on, continue to ask her about this because this is something that Republicans stand for. Republicans stand for globalism and protecting our troops, and they run on this bullshit war hawk kind of thing. But when it comes to stuff like this, and with Russia, it seems like they're quiet because Trump just allowed this to happen because he's getting help from the Russians. This is one of the reasons why he was impeached for this, for that. It's called quid pro quo, guys. I need y'all to look up the definition. This for that. With the UK government, not the Ukraine government, try to do that. Try to get information on Joe Biden's son, and that's how he got impeached. People. He just didn't get impeached because he abused only power. That was the top of the cake. And that was not on a regular person, it's on the former vice president of the United States. Come on. So, she said, the intelligence verifies what reaches the U.S., no stronger advocate for the service, for men and women in service than Donald Trump. We all know that's bull. Him hugging the flag don't mean shit. And then Caitlin keeps furthering asking her about this, and Kayleigh just don't have. She said there are no consensus of the intelligence community. What? No. And there was also another reporter asked about the tweet that he retweeted about the white power. Because that video, people heard the white power. Like, white power. You know, when they were screaming at the protesters of the Black Lives Matter movement. And she said something that he didn't hear that particular line, that phrase that was tweeted in the video. And the follow-up question is like, you heard that? Did you hear that in the video? Because it was said in the video. And then she said, yep, but not that phrase. And then when she was asked about Mississippi's decision on taking down the Confederate emblem on their state flag, she said that's Mississippi's choice and it was commendable. We all know you didn't want to say that. Y'all know y'all wanted that on there. Let's be real. And then she was also asked, it was a couple things she was asked. She was also asked about, you know, the breaking story, continuously asked about this breaking story. And then she criticizes the New York Times. She was also asked about the coronavirus, and she said they're catching people in the communities. It's mostly young people. Like, come on, like, we're almost at 2.6. Stop the bull. And then it was just more continuously she was asked about. But what struck me was she said that the New York Times and the Washington Post need to give back their Pulitzer Prize. It's like, what? You're bugging. Like, half of them people are good reporters, even if I like them on TV as commentators or not, or political analysts or not. These are good journalists. The New York Times is a prestigious paper, one of the prestigious papers, I think, in the whole entire country. And so was the Washington Post. We had a lot of people coming out and because of the Washington Post is the reason why they broke the story on the Watergate, and the reason why that Nixon was about to be impeached, but he resigned. You mad because 17 intelligence agencies back in 2016, 2017 said that Donald Trump had help from the Russians? I mean, duh. It's obvious. It's obvious. But when she also got mad, so she left, and then she was asked about, does he still condemn the white power thing? We all know Donald Trump is a racist because that's the next thing with the whole tweet. He's just terrible. He's a terrible individual, and that's just the thing to it. This man is ruining democracy. He's a shit stain on our country. And to the point where, like, voting is a right. We need to vote. Yes, everybody, you know, we don't have the candidate that we all dream to have. Compare Joe Biden to Donald Trump. I would rather have the decent man who can right his wrongs versus someone who is proud of being a shit show. Like, literally proud of being a piece of crap. Like, literally. Like, I don't understand how people could still stay home and not vote. And to all the influential black people talking about, we need to have our own party, we need to have a movement. Where was that energy during the years that he was in? Where was y'all? Y'all was home trying to make money, drinking up y'all Ciroc and doing whatever, but y'all wasn't out there. And with the protesters, y'all wasn't out there with the protesters. I have some on my live right now that was out protesting, risking their health to making sure people like me have the right, because I can't be outside. So I don't listen to half of these celebrities with their fake ass activism, because I believe it's bullshit. It's bull. It is. But all I know is I hope they vote for Trump and stop talking that shit behind their Twitter handle or their Instagram handle or their Facebook handle. That's all I'm saying. But just to conclude this thought, you know, we have to vote. You gotta vote. And that's that. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't want to be stuck in this situation for the next 4 years. Do you? Because I know I don't. But let's keep hope alive. To end this really on a good note, I hope people did see the IG live battle between Jadakiss and Fabulous. And if you're from New York, they brought that New York energy. Yonkers versus Brooklyn. I mean, I am more of a Jadakiss fan, but I do appreciate Fabulous because I feel like he's underrated a lot. And you got the Drakes of the world, the Waynes of the world, the Jay-Z's of the world. But what about rappers that rap about real shit? Because I don't feel that anymore. I feel like I'm stuck in the Twilight Zone. So listening to that brought me back to memories of being a kid in high school and even some of my college years. Like, I really appreciated that verses. So you should check out that. I think they have it on YouTube. They're going to post it on YouTube. So you can catch it on YouTube. But until then, try to do something fun. I mean, that was my fun part, of the day. And besides exercising. So we're in the midst of this pandemic. We're in the midst of civil unrest. And we're in a shitty ass situation. But let's just all just see the light at the end of the tunnel that we're going to get out of this. Trust. And we will. But until then, see y'all tomorrow evening. Have a good night.